So, again, thank you, Heisters. Let's get playing Payday 3 and keep those helmets flying.
Hey peeps, this is Kizum. Let's cut to the chase. You know Payday 3 was bad at launch, bad 6 months after launch, and had tons of issues all throughout every single update that tried to get it into a playable state where people genuinely wanted to return to it and spend their time and money on it. It's been over a year now. First little back, arriving into our grabby hunts, I want to summarize my thoughts on the third entry into the iconic Payday franchise. To preface any possible bias I might have, I'm not a big Payday fan overall, and besides spending some time on Payday 2 because I was itching for a heisting game, I have not had a lot of investment in the game, and my only exposure to it was seeing Noli's Story of Payday video, with its intergalactic alien sci-fi bullshit plot making me entranced in the same way Saw's many sequels have, where it's just plain fascinating to witness a lore skyscraper being built. Payday 3 was a small blip on my radar that progressively got bigger, and the thing that secured the buy for me was Noli being blown by Payday 3. So I went ahead and pre-ordered the standard edition, since I wasn't made out of money to afford myself a silver or gold one. I've played it a few times around launch, once the servers were, well, not working per se, but functional enough to let me get into a heist. The stealth was cool, and I've done it a few times, and I've played a bit of Loud before kind of falling off the game. It was kind of just bad. I proceeded to mostly forget about the game, besides watching the coverage about its update cycle every now and then, and writing one-side comment on a huge video about how I was kind of bummed. Kind of bummed is honestly a great descriptor about how I feel the way it's been handled. It's not a complete and utter disaster without redemption, but it does leave me very bummed. Most of it, of course, due to Starbreeze leadership, but we will touch on it later. Is Payday 3 a good game? I don't think so. Not yet. Is it a fun game? I'd say so. What I can't tell you is its worth, as that's entirely dependent on how year 2 pans out. But let's talk about the game as I see it in the now and the very near future. I think the descriptor of a rough diamond on Payday 3 launch was at best a severe misconception. It wasn't a rough diamond, it was an assembly of carbon that could eventually become a diamond after a lot of work, but was far from it. However, now, I think it's rather apt. Payday 3 right now is on the brink of both a fantastic stealth and a great loud experience with a decent showing of content. And all the updates teased to be coming rather soon are all looking pretty fucking good, and directly aimed at the worst parts of the game, which makes me really excited. Stealth in Payday 3 is a very fun sandbox. Do you mask up to have access to taking out guards permanently and jumping along with some other distractive actions? Or do you stay mask off to let you be able to worm your way out of most slip-ups with nothing but a warning and use civilians as a shield? It's a very arcadey experience that managed to be satisfying and unique. You're going all around the bank, rolling through vents and getting access into the inner secure zone of the bank, where staying unmasked is genuinely tricky with cameras and guards everywhere, ready to immediately cuff you up on detection, instead of escorting. The game really suggests masking up here to make dealing with them an easier task by cutting through the populace of the guards patrolling, but then still leaves you satisfied if you go unmasked all the way, with you being allowed to leave directly in front of the last guard with the money you just stole being helpfully packed up for you. However, even if you're masked up, you kind of just leave the person in the corner or something. I don't know. While currently the balance definitely leans a little too much towards the unmasked stealth, that is to the game's benefit, as it's a more interesting system to interact with than masked up stealth due to the sheer amount of emergent gameplay scenarios it offers versus the masked up approach. It's a bloody good time. Loud horde shooter gameplay that Payday is perhaps better known for, however, is a more complex beast to discuss. It's a point where pretty much every system in the game begins to interact and the cracks start to appear everywhere. However, it's not that bleak at all in my humble opinion. The gunplay in this game feels great. In fact, the sounds, especially the animations, all feel great and satisfying. It isn't even let down by the difficulty making the enemies bullets when you're like in some other games, so unless your gun already hits like a wet noodle, it won't suddenly start hitting like a wet noodle when you go to the maximum overkill difficulty. However, everything else can fall apart very easily if you're not the perfect target audience and look at it all too closely. The core pillars of issue for me in Loud gameplay are enemies, skills, and armor, which we'll target separately. In Payday 2, armor functioned as essentially a shield for your health bar that got quickly deleted, but regenerated if you stayed out of a firefight for a bit. This meant you could push enemies and play rather aggressively without a big regard to resource management, unless the damage was so overwhelming it pushed past your armor. That's not at all how it works in Payday 3. In this game, it's much more of a depletable resource, with more or less all damage to your armor becoming permanent very quickly, making it a very scarce resource that the game hinges upon. The developers put out a patch a few months after release adding a new armor type that will partially change this, as they made an armor that sustained no permanent damage to a given chunk in exchange for having only 2 chunks and a lower damage resistance than non-adaptive armor. Still, to most players, including myself, to be honest, it's not very satisfying, as we don't want to play a resource war, we want to fucking shoot people. This is why Starbreeze are completely reworking the armor system in the update that we should hopefully see in February, in what I can only describe as genuinely a great piece of game design. Where we previously had 1 through 4 chunks of regular blue armor and the 2-chunk adaptive armor, they are abandoning that categorization altogether, and instead giving you armor frames that can support a given amount of chunks of any type in any order with different passives. They also will bring in a new armor chunk that will basically be a Payday 2 armor equivalent. It's still not finalized and they delayed it to, hopefully, get it right, but it's one of the times I took a moment to appreciate how clever a design solution to a flawed system was, and I'm very excited to see them cook it up. In the meantime, there are very available strategies to severely mitigate the annoyances of the current system. Enemies in this game are... well, they exist. I'm not really sure what the fuck happened to their AI, but it seems like they got worse over time, because I swear, they used to be smarter half a year ago. There's basically a slew of issues with their designs, AI, and the way they function. Snappers are too forgiving, tasers, I'm not calling them zappers, fumble around too fucking much, cloakers are still tweaking too hard, and generally the cops are a little all over the place. This feels sad, because there are genuinely a lot of really cool concepts here, and sometimes you can see the entire system work as it should and come together to make a fantastic and engaging experience. But it very often falls apart heavily. Thankfully, I don't think this is something that will be too hard to fix. A lot of the current issues could have quick and dirty fixes that would substantially improve the experience with very little dev time, so I remain hopeful that it's an area to be improved in the future, but I currently must admit, it's rather lacking. Skills. God, what hasn't been said about the skill system? It's kind of very meh right now. Most of the skills in the game can be pretty underwhelming, and the entirety of the system always centers around 3 core buffs: edge, or damage, grit, or resistance, and rush, or speed. They all either are required, refreshed, gained, or consumed by a variety of different skills you can unlock. It's bad, but it has potential. I, personally, really like the idea of centering your skill system around a few core buffs, as it keeps them from being overwhelming. There's no need to track 40 different multipliers affecting different things. However, obviously the current execution isn't particularly thrilling, as there is very little build variety to be had. Still, I see potential here. If you take a good look at the current trees and move effects around, combine/trap a lot of them, that'd already be a huge improvement. But also, I think the core thing that the system needs for a balanced but fun experience is the ability to stack multiple instances of each of the core buffs. This would have a lot of good knock-on effects, making gaining a buff extend your buff's duration, which it doesn't do right now. Let's have far wilder perks that could be balanced out by consuming more buffs at a higher pace, and also just generally make the pace have more higher highs while maintaining the current lows, which I think a lot of people will enjoy. Skills is another area of promised land, where we will receive a rework to the entire system in year 2, although it's unclear when. My gut tells me it could be along with the Armor 2.0, as that will require a lot of skill changes to keep it functional, and those surely are developed alongside each other. But also, another progression vector is promised to be coming to the game: the overskill system. Currently, we have in the game the overkill weapon system, which is a cool, in theory, and partially in practice, way to balance out crazy guns by keeping them out of your general arsenal and only let you call in an instance of them once you've done enough actions during a heist. Currently, it's a tad underwhelming and only is useful now. However, in the upcoming system, we will see them be a bit replaced. You'll still be able to call in overkill weapons, but they won't be alone. A sort of ultimates to take their place will also come in. One such tease is the Interceptor, to temporarily disable all cameras in a heist. All of these options will come with a separate skill line that you will be able to unlock. It's essentially perk decks from Payday 2 localized into an ultimate ability call-in that is either some kind of immediate effect or a cool-ass weapon. I really like this, and again, I'm excited to see it come to the game. They say it's close to being in our hands and is separate from the skills rework, so might be coming at the same time. Maybe? Please? Finally, to wrap up talking about the gameplay and feel of Payday 3, let's address the heists. They are kind of a mixed bag. I have to say though, it's clear that the team has improved a lot since release, and the philosophy in all future heists seems to be a very good one. The base game has only a few heists, with quite a few of them having the dreaded circle Wi-Fi hack that needs you to fucking just stand there and then do nothing for like 10 seconds. Fuck with fucking Wi-Fi, this is the fucking modern day, but 2.4 gigahertz signal reaches fucking everywhere. Shade, stop bullshitting me, the Wi-Fi is fine! Still, heists like No Rest for Wicked, Golden Shark, Dirty Eyes, Diamond District, and First World Back especially hit the mark and can be a pretty good time. The DLC heists are all pretty good, especially with Poison Blue and Fear and Greed being standouts. Real big pull on the base game heist is a lack of ambition and funding, and the devs stated that they would like to eventually rework them. Doesn't seem to be on the radar table, but is being looked into by Almir's big oily beer right now, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. Still, the last heist we got was First World Bank, which itself was informed by Diamond District's positive reception, and that makes me very positive on the future of the level design in the game. I know there's a lot of negativity in this video about the game, and I'll have to add more now, by mentioning that the idiotic leadership at Starbreeze, seeing that Payday 3 is still not a super profitable year 2 after them dropping the most unfinished game ever in 2023, decided to significantly lower the fucking levels of investment in the game and decided to focus on developing another fucking live service that people will surely buy. Like, wow. This sucks and it severely cripples the future hopes of Payday 3. But stick with me for a moment. This game genuinely pushes the medium when it works. The stealth is amazing, and when every little tidbit of it comes together, it's like nothing else out there. Not even Payday 2. I genuinely love this game. It's goofy, it's broken, it's still not great, but I think it's fun. And right now, I think we should try for a redemption story. The team we have right now behind the game is full of amazing, passionate people that genuinely put out the biggest bangers they can within the confines of their budget. Gaming space would be worse off if Payday 2 was the only remnant of this legendary heisting franchise come a decade later. The potential is here, the fun is right around the corner, and maybe so is a prosperous future with a certain serial killer being rumored to be coming soon to Payday 3. So, take a gamble with me, as we all know with We Need You Now Heisters. Come, buy Payday 3 and have fun breaking apart this glorious mess of a game that I can't help but love. Wow, was that ever a difficult video to make? As I'm writing this, it's probably the 7th draft of a Payday 3 video I've made, and I'm very happy to be finally done with it. It's been a tricky ride, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm new to an essay outside of making ones for Dead by Daylight, and even then, that space is still different, as the turnaround on most of the ones I write there is maybe a day or so at best. Funny, another title that used to be published by Starbreeze but also has a very troubled development right now, albeit for much different reasons. I genuinely love this game, and I hope to see more people enjoy it as it hopefully gets better. If you liked the video, stick around, subscribe. There'll be more stuff coming. I've been in the 4-player co-op kick along with some other things, so if you like video essays from a quirky characters for world, you'll be in for a treat. Still, I do like food, and on that topic, it's time for me to plug my Patreon. Thanks to Sochus for bringing everyone this video and getting a shout out like this one, along with exclusive behind the scenes content and Discord membership. I like money, if only because it allows me to live and do other stuff that's fun and cool. So, if you want to support me in these trying times, be sure to give me money, by subscribing to me on Patreon and getting all these cool benefits. Thanks for watching, peeps. I bid you adieu.